79-year-old Cher stands on a Malibu cliff, Pacific wind tangling the same hair once drenched in Las Vegas spotlight. Behind her, bronze doors guard a $360 million empire, marble halls, platinum records, and silence thick enough to swallow scream. Yet on a warm night last June, sirens cut through that silence when paramedics rushed to save her younger son, Elijah Blue, from an overdose miles away in Joshua Tree. Lawsuits, whispered conservatorships, and family fractures followed, prompting one brutal question. What did 7 decades of triumph really cost? And who pays the interest when the spotlight cools? Tonight, we unseal the debts hidden behind the diamonds, trace every scar that financed her fortune, and discover why Cher's greatest legacy may be the pain still echoing through those gilded gates. In downtown Fresno, the 1949 winter air seeped through boards nailed over broken windows. 2-year-old Cherilyn Sarkeesian clung to the hem of a stranger's coat as her mother, Georgia Holt, surrendered her to a Catholic orphanage, an act of desperation, not desertion. Georgia had no money for diapers, let alone dreams, and the truck-driving husband who'd promised security had disappeared before Cher could speak his name. The next decade became a revolving door of addresses and stepfathers, 7 in all, some returning like bad echoes. One week she slept on her grandparents' linoleum floor, the next in a rented Beverly Hills room where Hollywood glitter mocked the holes in her shoes. Those shoes, held together by rubber bands, squeaked across classroom linoleum while teachers labeled her lazy. Dyslexia tangled the alphabet. Poverty tangled her sense of worth. But the girl refused to be edited out of her own story. At night, she hid beneath patchwork quilts, whisper-singing into a cracked mirror, imagining rhinestones instead of rationed beans. She watched musicals on borrowed televisions, memorizing every pivot, every belt-high note, studying applause the way other kids studied multiplication tables. By 16, she'd saved $35, tips from bussing tables and scrubbing lipstick from diner cups, and bought a one-way bus ticket to Los Angeles. She carried nothing but 2 dresses, a battered notebook of song lyrics, and a vow hammered into her bones. If applause could drown hunger, she would chase it until the world had no choice but to listen. Los Angeles, summer 1964. On a borrowed couch in Phil Spector's grimy studio lobby, 18-year-old Cher practiced harmonies while 29-year-old Sonny Bono shuffled contracts he barely understood. They were 2 misfits bound by rent money and runaway dreams. So when their voices fused on I Got You Babe in July 1965, radio stations turned the odd couple into overnight royalty. By autumn, they were headlining the Hollywood Bowl, cashing checks they assumed would never stop. But the paperwork told a harsher story. Sonny, older and hungry to protect their future, signed himself sole proprietor of the duo's publishing. Cher, still dyslexic, still terrified of fine print, trusted him. Their smash TV variety show began in 1971, drawing 30 million viewers a week. Yet after accountants skimmed and managers siphoned, the household books stayed stubbornly in the red. Behind rhinestone banter, marriage cracks widened. Sonny micromanaged jokes and wardrobe. Cher bristled, her voice sharpened by the memory of 7 stepfathers. Taping days ended with applause. Nights ended with slammed doors. On Valentine's Day 1974, they filmed an episode pretending everything was fine. 2 months later, she filed for separation, citing involuntary servitude. When the divorce finalized in June 1975, she was 29, mother of chastity and still nursing Elijah, and, after legal fees, barely solvent. The Malibu starter home was mortgaged, the IRS wanted back taxes, and every radio spin of I Got You Babe now paid mainly Sonny. Press agents framed her as a liberated diva, but insiders whispered the grimmer headline, half of a cultural anthem translated into almost none of the fortune for the woman who sang it. Las Vegas, 1976. Neon buzzed like a cheap halo above the newly single Cher as she stepped onto a smoky Caesars Palace stage. Gone were network cue cards and guaranteed ratings. Now every sequin on her Bob Mackie jumpsuit felt like collateral for the next mortgage payment. The crowd saw glamour. She saw rent. Offstage, life spun faster. 9 days after her divorce decree, she rushed into marriage with Southern rock prince Greg Allman, hoping love might steady the finances Sonny had splintered. Addiction ruined the honeymoon. Cher filed for annulment of Amatsint, changed her mind, reconciled, then spent nights wiping sweat from Greg's withdrawal tremors while memorizing punchlines for the following evening's show. Their son Elijah Blue arrived in July 1976, a rare lullaby amid casino clatter. Within 2 years, the union collapsed for good, leaving her a single mother of 2 and deeper in the red. With television offers evaporating, she gambled again, this time on disco. Casablanca Records promised quick cash if she would shimmer under strobe lights. The result, Take Me Home, 1979, wrapped her husky contralto in pulsating bass lines. Critics scoffed, but the single spun to gold, selling over 500,000 US copies and hauling six-figure advances into her overdrawn checking account. She embraced the glitz publicly, yet privately admitted the lame costumes left her feeling like a birthday cake nobody asked for. Still, disco paid the light bill. Night after night, she belted refrains over sticky cocktail floors, each chorus a receipt in the ledger of survival. Sequins may sparkle, but for Cher they were armor. Thin, dazzling proof that hunger hadn't won. Early 1983, casting directors doubted the disco diva could disappear into a serious role, but Cher arrived at her Silkwood audition stripped of lashes and ego, wearing thrift store jeans and a borrowed flannel. Director Mike Nichols later said the room fell silent. All anyone saw was Dolly Pellicker, a weary lesbian worker fighting radiation leaks, not a Vegas headliner. The transformation earned her a Golden Globe, a $150,000 paycheck, and, more important, a first Oscar nomination that reopened Hollywood's gates. She sprinted through them. Mask, 1985, showcased maternal ferocity. The Witches of Eastwick, 1987, let her trade broomsticks with Nicholson and Pfeiffer for a mid-six-figure fee. Yet nothing matched the lightning of Moonstruck. At 41, portraying bookish widow Loretta Castorini, she balanced vulnerability and volcanic charm, steering the $15 million film to almost $100 million. On Oscar night, March 29, 1988, she bypassed safe couture for a towering Bob Mackie black velvet and beaded mesh masterpiece, half rebellion, half battle armor. When presenter Sherry Lung-hee read Cher Moonstruck, the Dolby Theater erupted, but Cher's first thought, she later admitted, was, "Sonny said I'd never make it alone." Clutching the statuette, she delivered a trembling thank you to Nichols for believing I could act. Incandescent headlines masked logistic urgency. Within weeks, she renegotiated syndication residuals for the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour and inked a fresh film option deal, translating acclaim into solvency. Yet as the Oscar gathered dust, she sensed familiar tremors. Hollywood's thrill for reinvention fades fast. The victory was real, but its half-life brutal. To keep momentum, she'd soon need a bigger gamble than any golden statue could guarantee. By 1991, backstage glamour hid a secret. Cher's immune system had turned traitor. Doctors muttered chronic Epstein-Barr-like virus, prescribing rest she couldn't afford. Pneumonia struck twice in '92, stealing octaves and stamina. She canceled shows, then lay in darkened rooms whispering fears that the voice paying her mortgages might never return. Recording labels, smelling weakness, politely passed. Radio fixated on grunge and New Jack Swing. Neither seemed to need a 47-year-old diva. Cher, however, had long ago learned that when doors lock, you kick through a window. She found one in London's tiny Dreamhouse Studios, where producers Mark Taylor and Brian Rawling were experimenting with a pitch correction plugin nobody could pronounce. They slid her demo beneath the booth glass, a synth-throb track titled Believe. Auto-tune warped her vowels into metallic ripples. Executives panicked. Robotic, gimmick, career suicide. Cher folded arms across a chest still aching from bronchitis and said, "Put it out exactly like that. Or don't put it out at all." Released October 1998, Believe detonated. 11 million albums sold, topping charts in 23 countries, funneling more than $100 million in royalties and licensing into accounts that had been flirting with red. Critics who'd forecast career collapse scrambled to explain how a grandmother of one had just rewritten pop's future. Victory carried a surcharge. The Do You Believe World Tour schedule left her knees ballooning, joints injected with cortisone before curtain. But each night, as 20,000 fans chanted a hook polished by code, she felt the virus retreat beneath sheer will. Autotune didn't hide age, it weaponized it, turning a faltering voice into the sound of immortality. In November 2002, Cher strode onto Toronto's Air Canada Centre stage draped in phoenix feather sequins and announced, "This is my farewell." No, really. Fans laughed, but accountants knew the truth. Stop touring and the cash fountain dries up. The living proof, farewell tour quickly ballooned from 49 North American dates to 325 shows across 5 continents, grossing an unprecedented $250 million by April 2005. The spectacle was engineered for profit and endurance. Each costume weighed under 4 pounds to spare her inflamed joints. Hydraulic lifts replaced staircases. A portable oxygen tank hid behind rear LED panels. Still, the toll was savage. Crew members recall watching her knees swell to grapefruit size mid-sound check. Doctors jabbed cortisone into the joint, wrapped it, and she high-kicked through If I Could Turn Back Time an hour later. After curtain ice baths and IV saline became nightly rituals. Money, though, poured in faster than plasma left her veins. She snapped up a Tudor-style refuge in Beverly Hills, financed Chaz's documentary work, and wrote seven-figure checks to charities that had once fed her as a child. Yet exhaustion stalked her shadow. In 2004, bronchitis forced the only 5 show cancellations of the entcher run. She apologized on live TV wearing a beaded mask to hide laryngitis-puffed cheeks. 2 years later, Caesar's Palace dangled a fresh lifeline: $60 million for a 3-year residency. Cher agreed, but quietly installed a backstage medical suite, EKG monitor, massage table, vitamin infusion rig, transforming glamour into a production line where body and brand were serviced side by side. The farewell never ended. It just relocated to Las Vegas, proving that retirement is a luxury icons can't always afford. Grief rarely balances the books. In December 2023, Cher stunned courts by filing to control son Elijah Blue Allman's finances. Arguing drugs and mental health spirals left him unfit to manage an impending trust payout. A Los Angeles judge rejected the emergency bid in January 2024, but the legal tug-of-war dragged through the year, headlines leaking every affidavit like ink across pristine ledgers. Just when proceedings seemed to settle, tragedy struck again. At sunrise on June 14, 2025, paramedics sped to Joshua Tree after Elijah overdosed in a desert hotel. He survived, yet the relapse reignited talk of a renewed conservatorship and thrust Cher's private anguish onto front pages worldwide. Financial planners close to the singer whisper about a second, quieter fear. America's estate tax rules are shifting beneath her stilettos. Current exclusions of roughly $14 million per heir expire on 31st December 2025. Beginning 2026, estates worth more than $15 million face up to 40% federal tax unless assets are sheltered in trusts or LLCs. For a portfolio pushing $360 million, that could vaporize tens of millions overnight. Within Cher's Malibu sanctuary, advisors map contingency charts while siblings circle in uneasy orbit. Chaz, a beacon of stability after his 2010 transition, now fronts LGBTQ+ causes with his mother, their bond soldered by shared activism. Elijah, meanwhile, shuttles between rehab and rented bungalows, insisting he can recover without legal shackles. The calculus is brutal: protect an heir by limiting his control or risk fortune and son alike. For Cher, the dilemma mirrors every chorus she ever sang about heartbreak. Love demands sacrifice, money demands math, and sometimes there's no chord that resolves both. At 79, Cher upended tabloids yet again, this time not with a chart topper, but with a love story. Music executive Alexander A.E. Edwards, 39, first appeared on her arm in late 2022. By Fashion Week 2025, they were swapping inside jokes at Valentino's Studio 54 launch, while cameras flashed like roaming meteors. Online pundits scoffed at the 40-year gap, but Cher fired back in trade. Love doesn't know math. The phrase became a meme and a quiet thunderclap inside estate planning circles. Advisors note that partners without marriage certificates sit outside automatic inheritance. Unless trusts or lifetime giving schemes are formalized, Edwards' future stake depends on Cher's willingness, not the law. Complicating matters, federal estate tax rules could shrink dramatically on January 1, 2026, resetting the individual exemption to roughly $7 million if Congress lets the 2017 expansion sunset. For a portfolio estimated at $360 million, including Malibu's $75 million villa, even a slight change means tens of millions in potential tax. Cher's legal team reportedly floated a dynasty trust to shield royalties while allowing future charitable bequests. But insiders say negotiations froze amid Elijah's relapse and headlines branding the family fractured. Through it all, Cher and Edwards share late-night studio sessions in the Malibu guest house, she chasing a Final Dance record, he tweaking beats on a MacBook. Friends claim their laughter drips past marble colonnades well after midnight. Whether romance outlasts the next reinvention remains unseen. Yet once more, the goddess of pop has rewritten expectations. Sometimes the boldest act isn't a costume change, it's daring to love when the world says the math is wrong. From rubber band shoes to marble palaces, from orphanage halls to Oscar night, Cher forged an empire where every platinum record hides a bruise and every trophy doubles as scar tissue. Her fortune, assets nearing $360 million, is dazzling. But the real gold lies in her refusal to stay silent when life tried to erase her. She turned abandonment into anthems, illness into innovation, heartbreak into history. So when the final curtain falls, what will echo louder? The decibels of Believe or the whispered cost of every note? If you're ready for the next untold legend, just tap the video now appearing on screen.